What's up, guys? We are live. So this is a podcast that you guys have requested for some time. I've been hearing this request. Hey, Alex, can you get on someone who had success, who improved in game, had success following your whatever teachings? We want to see a case study, and we have one right in front of us, and his name is Alden. Uh,
Alden.
yeah,
Alden.
how you doing, man?
I was saying it's Alden, but yeah.
Alden, yeah, cool. So yeah, let's start off with a quick little introduction. Tell people a little bit about yourself, and specifically talk about what your results were like with women before you started following this advice.
Yeah, so my name's Alden. I've kind of been in the pickup community probably for about maybe like found out about it probably in like 2013 or 2014, something like that. Kind of dabbled in it a little bit. I ended up getting in a long like the one of the first long-term relationships I got in, of course, was like 3 years long. I was basically kind of like, as your title puts it, simpy, you could say. And we didn't end up working out. Like she wanted to get married. I felt that, I haven't really shined or reached my peak yet. So I didn't want to get married. Then I kind of did some really started studying pickup theory. Was doing a lot of night game, but I guess you could say I was doing approach after approach after approach, and I was learning a lot, but I was not really closing. And every sporadically, I would close a girl, maybe like once every 6 months or like between 6 months and a year. And that was probably happened for a couple of years. Then I got into another relationship. And after that last relationship that I got into, I was like, okay, I really need to go full in because I felt that I could just do better with women in general. And my relationship was not as I would like to have been. So I found I was still doing a lot of cold approach, but I wasn't really getting a lot of results. And then I found, PWF. And it really allowed me to get a lot of reps in and just learn the game and start going on a lot more dates and just getting a lot more reps in. And at the time, I wasn't really, I guess you could say, there's a lot of things that PWF taught me that I can go into, but it just allowed me to really start consistently closing girls and, building up the rotations and, dating the quality of woman that I really wanted to start dating.
Gotcha.
And I truly can credit, a lot of that to PWF. And I appreciate, shout out Nitin. Nitin played a big part in a lot of it.
Nitin is Indian P, guys.
Yeah, Indian P.
Most people don't know his full name. But, exactly. Okay, so let me ask you this. How did you find PWF in the first place?
I was thinking about that before I came on, and I was like, I think it was YouTube, but I can't remember. I think I just randomly stumbled across it on YouTube.
Okay. And talk about your journey with PWF. So you randomly stumble upon my beautiful face and my luscious hairline on YouTube. What happens next?
So I was like, I've always been like a invest in coaching type of person because at the end of the day, if you see somebody who's doing what you want, it just makes sense to, find that person and try to learn from them. So I was watching your videos and I was like, shit, quickly I just realized, I was like, okay, I can tell you obviously know what you're doing. So I joined the program and then, obviously made my dating profile, started crafting it. And my dating profile was shit before then. I can put in a picture. I have actually an old picture of what it looked like before PWF.
Yeah, let's throw it up if you have it.
Shit, it would take me a minute to find it.
Okay, no worries. Well,
but yeah, so even I had a pre-PWF conversation when I'd gotten my Bumble had gotten banned, and so I had to get on again. And I found my old Bumble, and I saw some conversations. But so pretty much got into PWF. My profile, it was kind of a process. You do the professional photo shoot, and steady, slowly increase your profile. And then, funny enough, I had gotten a one-on-one call with you, and essentially found FaceApp. And out of that whole call, I was like, let me see, what did I learn? And you were like, yeah, use this. And I was like, shit, okay. And then my results just started then I started going on date after date, and I started getting 3, 4, 5 dates a week and just building up, rotations and having a lot of one-night stands and things like that. So, once I got in it, it progressed. I would say my results just skyrocketed, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's one interesting point we should explore. So a lot of guys have this fear that if you use FaceApp or use a filter, that the girl will see you and she'll run away. Maybe at best you will have a one-night stand and then she will find you repulsive and leave. But I have never once had that experience. I don't know anyone who's had that experience. So did you have anything like that where because of you used FaceApp, the girls were just repulsed by you when they met you in real life, or was it like basically the same shit?
It was basically the same shit, man. It's funny because I hear that from a lot of people too about FaceApp. Like, oh my God, fucking FaceApp. But really, the way I looked at it too when I first got it, I'm like, it really just changes your facial expression subtly, and it makes you like subtly better looking, but enough to where when she sees you, it's that it hits her on that subconscious level where she's like, okay, this guy has good body language, good facial expressions. It makes her smile a little bit better. And I've never one time had a single girl even bring it up to me or address me about it. Like, oh, you don't look like your pictures. It's like,
Yeah,
and
that it really almost never happens. And I think that this is the analogy I would give. So you match with a girl on dating app who's an 8. She's hot. You meet up with her in real life and she's like 7. You're still gonna fuck her. And I bet you that if you're looking for a relationship, you'll still probably date her. So if that chick is 100 pounds more than her photo, if she looks like an 8 but she's a 4, that's a different story. But if the girl goes 1.5, even 2 points above, it's almost never an issue. And it's exactly the same thing for girls. It's gotten to a point for, it's not ideal that this is kind of how it is, but that people expect you to look better in your photos. And so if you're not doing that, you're literally just missing out on the vast majority of the girls you could get. And it's kind of like that with height. So if you're 5'10", you should say you're 6 feet, because if you say you're 5'10", the girl's going to think you're 5'8". So you're just a dumbass if you're saying that you're 5'10", you're 5'10", because every girl looking at he's like, oh, he's 5'9" at best, right? So you're going to want to exaggerate by maybe 5'11", maybe 6 feet if you want to push it. But it's the degree of the exaggeration. If you say you're 6'4", yeah, that's going to backfire. But if you go up by an inch or two, and FaceApp is exactly like that. You're again, you can go to different levels with FaceApp. Like, I don't advise using like massive amounts of FaceApp. I just literally, when I actually FaceApp clients' photos, I just do 2 things with my own photos too. I put the lowest filter on, I throw a preset. It's called the handsome preset, right? And that kind of changes skin blemishes, changing facial expressions. And then if their facial expression is off, I manually adjust the facial expression. That's it. Just 2 things that I click. And I only did those 2 things for you because those are the 2 things I do for anyone. So yeah, but you can take FaceApp too far, but just doing 1 or 2 things, not a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And even to that point, right? I was actually going to use the same example for girls that like are slightly less attractive than her pictures. I was on a date literally last night, and the girl said we had texted like 6 months ago, and I just forgot to hit her back. And she ended up reaching back out to me and said, "Hey, do you want to hang out?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I asked her. I said, when I was on the date, what made you want to, hit me back up out of, I assumed she had a million matches. What made you want to reach back out to me? And she's like, yeah, I only had 2 matches on my profile because I almost swiped right on nobody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's one of the things you have to do.
And it is. And in order to get in that like little 5% threshold of when girls swipe right, your pictures have to be on point. Like, they have to be. So
yeah, they have to be. Or you can bang fat chicks. The choice is yours.
Exactly. Run up a million fat chicks, and it's just like, that's not my thing.
Yeah. Okay, so that was one of the things. What are some of the other things? So you adjusted the photos, kind of tweaking the photos ASAP. What are some of the other ways that PWF helped you get results?
Yeah, man. The biggest thing I would say, and this is what I always tell people too, is like really the repetitions, because like I did a lot of night game, right? And I was beating the dead horse. Like, I couldn't hook the girls in my sets. And then when I started getting a lot of back end repetition, it also increased my confidence. And of course, I was like getting laid a lot more. So that was also increasing my confidence. So it was almost like a snowball effect. So then when I started doing night game after that, like I was pulling left and right. And before I got into like a kind of a relationship with a girl, I mean, I was probably pulling about 50%, in night game. Whereas like I went for probably 8 months and I just couldn't pull a single girl in night game to 50%, after, again, just constantly getting a lot of reps in. That would be one thing. Another thing I would say PWF is like, I kind of was listening to a lot of Todd and the old RSD people. And I like Todd, by the way. I know a lot of people hate on him, but I fuck with Todd.
He's got some nice advice here and there.
Yeah, he does. He's got good theory. And basically, like, I didn't understand the dominance aspect of the thing. And, the whole PWF, it almost teaches you how to think. Like, when you're texting people, it's a way, like, it's literally your thought process coming into the messages. So as you're texting these girls a lot and you're doing it like constantly, you start to become the person that you're almost texting. Because a lot of the shit that y'all teach in PWF, I mean, when I was sending it in the beginning, I was like, I mean, that shit's not me. I was not like a descriptive texter, and shit like that. But as I started doing it, it started to become a part of who I am, as a person. So the dominance aspect, and I would really say it just snowballed my entire game, in all aspects, really.
Okay, that's good to hear. Did you get the 1.0 or the 2.0 product?
I was in 1.0.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I feel like 1.0 is I'll send you a free copy of the 2.0, just remind me after this. But I feel like the 2.0 is like levels and levels better than the 1.0. I mean, I thought the 1.0 was good. I don't think it was bad, but I thought it was really good. And then when I did the 2.0, I was like, yeah, this is what it could have been from the start.
A lot of the value that I got from the group was really just being in the mastermind. Like, even if I were to, get in a relationship or whatever, maybe in the foreseeable future, I don't know. But even if I were to, the value in the mastermind, the product is awesome for sure. Like, I read through it, it gave me a lot of value. Being able to get direct feedback, on a constant basis by literally sharing your screenshots and getting direct feedback from, a lot of times Nitin responds, and a lot of other guys who are doing well in there respond as well. Is just invaluable. I mean,
maybe you could talk a little bit more about the experience in the mastermind, and you can just be brutally honest. Like, if there's any criticisms, throw them my way so I can improve. But what are the big value that you got out of it?
Yeah, man, I really don't have any criticisms for the mastermind. Everybody's very responsive. A lot of the guys, because I've been in it for a couple years now, maybe like 2 years and some change. A lot of people learn the PWF format, and then they're able to kind of give feedback when maybe Nitin doesn't respond as quickly, but Nitin almost responds to every post. And being able to, again, get the highest quality of teaching from directly the source, and then being able to read all the lay reports and see where people were responding to what message and what point in the interaction was this person and how did they respond to it. And I mean, if you're really looking to get better at, online dating, and really just gaming in general, I mean, for the price, and this is not even like a shameless plug, or not even like a plug, right? Because I don't benefit from this at all, but you'd be foolish not to join. And I genuinely mean that. Mostly for Nitin, but no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, the mastermind, I would say, is definitely I kind of wish my YouTube community was like the mastermind, because it's very constructive, it's positive. There's not any trolls or any fucking shit talkers, right? So that's I think a much better version of PWF. But that's kind of what happens, because the people who are going to pay for it are the people who actually, you're not going to pay for the mastermind just to talk shit. You know what I mean? So in some ways, I've always felt like I wish that's what the regular community was like, because it just has such a more positive type of attitude. I see that too, definitely to an extent in the in the PWF regular community, but it's times 10 in the mastermind. But yeah, I also feel I don't know, you can say if you agree or disagree with this, but I feel like some people, if they were running the business, they could have charged $200 or $300 for the mastermind easy. Compared to, I don't know, I feel like $50 a month is pretty cheap for one-on-one help from the coaches. I mean, that would be if we do the math, I charge $300 an hour, so that would be 10 minutes of my time or something like that, and Nitin charges the same amount. So it's as long as you're getting more than 10 to 15 minutes worth of help, which you're getting hours and hours worth of help, sometimes days worth of help. Yeah, I feel like that's not a bad deal.
It's a steal, man. It's a steal. Like I said, I mean, if you can't spend at the end of the day, right? It's I pretty much I studied a lot of theory and did a lot of cold approach, which I always still would encourage people go out there and approach and shit like that, because that brings its own value. But I mean, if you can't spend $150, $250, whatever you charge for 2.0, and then 40 or $50 a month, to get not only your dating life handled, but I mean, I could literally consistently bang in at least 1 or 2 girls a week, depending on what I have going on. And then if I want more, rotation, whatever you want in your dating life, you can get it for, I mean, pennies on a dollar.
Yeah. What would you say are some of the biggest, I don't know, okay, if you could give advice to yourself 4 years ago, what are some of the biggest things you would say when it comes to dating?
I mean, really just get online, man, because at the end of the day, dating, there's a million dating coaches. There's great advice around, but once you get online, it's like the quickest way to abundance. And then you can start understanding the way the women think, and you can start getting a lot of repetitions in and really just being online as quickly as possible. Now, I would still continue to do all my cold approach. So I'm thankful like the process or the path that I took, but just get online as soon as possible. Like anybody new in dating, I would say like get online ASAP and start learning. Cause again, it's the reps and the getting around women. Cause even when I moved to my city, the first thing I wanted to do was like, okay, how can I get around women, you know, as many women as possible? And what I do, find a girl roommate. Right. And just having access to them, because when you're around them, you interact with them, you get more comfortable with them. You know, even back to the face app point, you know, I hear a lot of dudes talk about, you know, oh, there's the argument about how much do looks matter in game. Man, I would say looks probably 10% a game. The rest is just charisma, social skills, calibration, the way you carry yourself. And I would even put style, you know, grooming, hygiene, et cetera, like in the 10%. Now that's an important 10%, but you get
yeah, I'll probably put it at like 50-50, but yeah, I guess everyone has, but then there's some people who think it's 90%. Some people think it's 100%. The analogy I've always given is like, it's kind of like asking what's more important, the transmission or the engine. You really need both to drive the car. That doesn't mean you have to be a plaid, just means that you have to be at least semi-presentable to the girl, right? So, you know, you could have the best game ever, but if you show up on the date, you look like shit, you smell like shit, you're like all disheveled, yeah, it's going to be pretty hard to overcome that. And the same thing, even if you're really good looking, you show up on the date, you're timid, you're shy, you're not making a move, that's also not going to work. So you kind of need both. You need to maximize both to the best of your ability. The cool thing is that game, you can maximize a lot more than looks. So if you're like a 4, you can maybe become a 6, 6.5 at most. You're not going to become a 10 if you're a 4 or average guy. However, if you have like a level 4 game, you can develop a level 9 or level 10 game. That is doable.
But the thing is that level 6, you know, even with 6, could you see on all the reality TV shows or Selling Sunset? I'm a real estate agent, comes to mind. But like some of the girls going on dates with, you know, the guys at Selling Sunset, because they're rich, we're going on dates with some very, I would say, objectively less attractive dudes. But they're still able to, you know, get that quality of girl because status, resources, all that stuff. But that's part of the, you know, attraction in a female. But I do agree. Like, I think it's an important, like, if you put it in that way, I think, you know, looks, the way you carry yourself, absolutely vital. But I think game goes a really long ways.
Mm-hmm. I want to talk a little bit more about like some of the things you learned. So you improved your profile, you tweaked your photos with FaceApp. You talked about dominance. What are some other things that you kind of learned in the last several years?
Well, I studied a lot of, like, I had studied a lot of theory and done a lot of game theory prior to PWF. So when I came into PWF, a lot of it was just kind of starting to click for me because I was getting the reps in. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, being able to learn how to lead the interaction better. I really like the way you do your style of game, right? Where you tease a lot. Like a lot of my dates, I just sit there. Like you don't even really have to run a great game, right? To even get laid. Just sit there, let her do a lot of the talking. I'll carry it a little bit in the beginning and then just tease. And there's a little more to it, right? Challenger, compliment her here and there, you know, boost yourself up a little bit and just kind of lead it into the bedroom. And it's really like, you know, I know those, like, I also hear a lot in the pickup community, oh, you know, a lot of these dating coaches, how much are they getting laid? It's really not that hard to get laid when you learn the fundamentals and you understand game.
Yeah, it's not that hard. Now, there are challenges that you might face as someone who's good at game, like, I don't know, like getting a 10 or like having a threesome with like 2 play. Like, there are challenges, but
absolutely,
in terms of, like, having sex with, you know, decent looking and even like somewhat attractive girls, it's entirely doable. You can have sex with 2, 3, 4 girls a week if you want to. When I was at like my peak in terms of like just like my fucking desire to fuck chicks, I was doing like crazy numbers. I was doing like 3, 4, 5 a week. Sometimes I had several days where I do 2 or 3. Again, nowadays I'm far from that. It seems to me like kind of like just exhausting. But when I was in like
exhausting,
late 20s, that like appealed to me so bad. And then you eventually kind of get out of your system, and then you get to a point where like, you know what, I don't need to constantly fuck new chicks. I'm like, you know, fairly content. I can focus on other things. It's kind of like a I don't know. It's like, if you're like a starving child, like someone could be like, oh, don't focus on food, but you're like, motherfucker, I haven't eaten in weeks. So someone gives you a buffet and you just eat too much. And then but after a while, you're like, you know what? Food is not a big deal. I have to worry about food, right? It's always going to be there. So I can do other things without obsessing about food.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. You do. You get out of your system. And a lot of dudes, like, because you always see this too. I feel like in the pickup community where dudes will like go through the phase where they think when they start nailing a ton of chicks, they'll be fulfilled. And then like after like 50, 60, 70, 80 chicks or whatever, you're like, oh shit, I'm still empty inside. And then you start kind of putting your focus in other directions. Like, oh, there's more to life than just nailing chicks. But it's definitely a process, I think, that is important to go through for sure.
Yeah, you gotta like get it out of your system, I think, first.
You do.
It's kind of hard to tell like an incel or a virgin and be like, oh, just don't worry about women, man. It's like telling a starving child not to worry about food. Like the motherfucker can't think about anything but food. At least that was true when I was like sexually frustrated. Like all I could think about was fucking girls. And then you typically go over the top and you kind of overdo it for a while. For some people, that process never ends. But for most people, after they course correct and go over the top, they kind of meet in the middle and they get to either in a relationship or whatever. Let me actually address this question. Alex admits that 90% of his matches are flakes, so he's capping hard. Well, that, my friend, is where running high volume comes in. So if I'm averaging 20 matches a day and 90% of them are flaking, that still leaves me with 2 girls a day. Now, I'm not actually meeting up with 2 girls a day, but you can see how the numbers run out. So yeah, you compensate for that by volume. Also, when I use the word flake, I don't mean like I have a date set up with a girl and then she drops off. I mean like we have a conversation going, we're talking, and it doesn't lead to a meetup, right? That is going to be something like 80-90% of the girls you talk to. You're talking to 10 or 20 girls, you get 1 or 2 meetups, 1 or 2 lays. I don't know. Has it kind of been like that for you, or
100%, man? I don't care. Like, yeah, because I even talked to a lot of my friends who are like, some of them are like really good looking dudes, right? And even there, they'll have like a significant number of matches, and then they're still getting flaked on at the same rate. That's just a factor of the females, especially nowadays and in America in particular, but probably everywhere in the world.
Yeah, I think people like really way too focused on that, way too paranoid on that. But I don't care about flake rate. I care about the end result. So why would I care? And also about the amount of work, the work to reward ratio. So if I have all my texting on autopilot and just basically copying and pasting shit, it's not taking me like, that much longer to talk to more girls. And then 1 or 2 girls are going to show up anyway because I'm going to stack a bunch of dates. I don't really care that there was 4 or 5 girls that flaked on me. It's like if I'm doing sales, my goal is to get like a sale for that day. I don't care that there was 9 customers who said no. I just care about the customer who said yes at the end. That's kind of
100%. And also too, to even to that point, right? It's like as you go through the process too, and you start learning what you like and what you don't like, which is a very valuable aspect of getting online and getting in abundance. You start to like, a lot of the girls who initially like, I'm going to fucking fight tooth and nail. Like, oh my God, I'm going to try to get this girl to my house. Like, I'm not going to deal with that bullshit anymore. Right. It's like, I want a girl who's compliant, who's going to maybe submit to me, even through text. Right. Even if I handle 1 or 2 things and then she's still giving me shit. It's like, I just don't have time and effort to deal with shit like that anymore. You know what I mean? So even to that point, right, you could have all those matches, but like you still want to look for the type of girl that would be interact well with yourself, compatible.
I think people typically don't start off at that point when they're like real thirsty, but they eventually get to that point. Yeah, nowadays I have like a really like low tolerance. Like a lot of the a lot of my like more epic lair reports from like 2 or 3 years ago. Like a big part of the reason I was doing it was because I knew it was going to be good content. So, but like nowadays that I have like all those videos already done, like if a girl's giving me a little bit of shit, like I might try once, but then I'm just gonna, I just don't give a shit enough. I'll be like, all right, cool, have a good one. That's not like optimal text game. It just comes down to like, okay, how much do I want to waste my time? And let me address this question. Okay. Has Alex been working with him for a while, or what is this from? So we haven't been working directly for a while. We did one coaching call, but he's been in the PWF community for about 2 years, right? You said?
Yeah, about 2 years.
I want to also ask this question. What do you think separates guys who are able So people generally start off at the same point, like when they join this community, like a lack of results, frustrated. But some of them get to a point like you where they come out on the other end. And some people don't at all. They actually stay where they are, or they go backwards. That's even worse. They become bitter, resentful, angry. What do you think separates those people who make progress and the people who don't?
I think there's a few things, but I think a lot of it is some guys get stuck, like even to your point that you brought up earlier, where it's like you can have the results and you can match like the 6 or the 7, right? And somebody might start getting 6 or like getting results with 6 or 7s, and then they can't bump up on that threshold because what they were doing with 6 or 7s, they're not 8s, 9s, and 10s are not attracted to those same behaviors and qualities. So I think dudes have trouble like taking that step back, or really analyzing themselves from they're not as self-aware as maybe they could be. That's one thing. I would say the other thing, like, I'm not saying this is a good thing, but like I've probably like neglected work, a lot. I mean, I've neglected a lot of work the past, multiple years, really, because this is the area that I wanted to handle in my life and go really far. Number one, because obviously everybody wants to get laid a lot, right? But also I enjoy I enjoy game and what it is as an art. So I think it's just time, dedication, going out and being self-aware enough to understand where you went wrong and being able to correct it. But also this is where the proper coaches come in, having the right feedback to say, hey, it's not that's what you think is wrong. It's actually, this is the root of what's causing you to go wrong. So I think it's just self-awareness and a matter of enough time spent and self-analysis.
I think it comes down to, well, just for anyone, I think it comes down to primarily 2 things. There might be other factors, but this is like 90% of it. The first thing is whether you have like a growth mindset or a fixed mindset.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of interesting books that talk about people who have growth mindsets are people who think, okay, I can improve at this. People who have a fixed mindset think, hey, I suck at this. I'm always going to suck at this. I've always had a growth mindset, or generally most of my life. So whenever there's something I suck at, I have like a lot of faith that I could get good at it if I put in enough effort. I sucked at sales when I first started doing it. I got really good at it. Eventually, I was the sales trainer. I sucked. I don't know. I sucked at pickup when I first got into it. There's been many. I sucked at snowboarding when I first got into it. Near the end, I was like better than 98. So like, there's a lot of things that I suck at. And I think having those experiences of getting better at something kind of does something for your mental health. And then you're like, okay, well, if I got good at this, I can get good at other stuff. So I think just a lot of it is mindset. I see a lot of guys, man, like, fuck, dude, yesterday, a very bizarre interaction I had. Good guy, but this is fucking craziness. So he was talking to me about the possibility of a man transitioning into a woman so they have easier time in the dating marketplace. Jesus. I'm like, what the actual fuck? This is like the extremes that people go to. And like, this person I know personally doesn't approach. He hasn't gone up and talked to any girls, right? So it's a lot of dudes who are like sitting around, who are not doing anything, who are not really willing to potentially take a failure, right? So you can't succeed unless you're willing to take a failure, right? So they're unwilling to take a failure, so therefore they never succeed. And their whole thing is avoiding pain instead of achieving results. Yeah. I think the second thing is who you surround yourself with, and what information you consume, especially when you're learning and you're not good at something. I am so grateful that in 2012, when I learned about pickup, there was no black pill community. I can just totally envision how my life would have been different if instead of consuming.
You would have went down the black pill route.
Yeah, and there was just a bunch of doomer black pill shit. Like, dude, I could be a fucking insult virgin right now. Like, it could have gone so differently. I think when you're already good at something, it's a lot harder for you to influence your mind, because I'm like, yeah, I know this shit ain't true. But when you're not good at something, it's very easy for you to be influenced by outside sources. So be very careful about the kind of results you consume. And I think the litmus test you should ask is this person I'm looking for, learning from, do they have the kind of life I want to have, right? So if it's like fucking some black pill doomer who looks like they're fucking miserable, like has zero receipts, like is just like, looks like they fucking suck and are bitter in every way, like, why would that be a person you want to learn from? Like, you're just going to go in that direction, right? So it's like, now, of course, you don't have to absolve everything. Like, if you're like more monogamous than I am, you don't have to have a one-way open relationship. You can be monogamous. For sure. You look at like big picture. Like, does this person seem happy? Do they seem like a good person to be around? Do they seem like they get results? in their life? And the answer is yes, learn from that person. I'm not the only person in that category. There's a lot of other people in that category. But if the answer is no, they fail every single one of those litmus tests, then why would you allow yourself to consume their content and be influenced by it?
100%, man. And even to that point, it's funny because like, and I think Andrew Tate's like a smart dude, right? I've gotten a lot of good, valuable information from the dude. But he always kind of shits on the pickup artist. But he comes from the point of I don't think he ever like struggled in his life to not have good success with women. So to come from the point of like, okay, I struggled with women to, okay, now I, get a lot of good results with women is different than, because a lot of times you'll hear advice from the top. Oh, just do this. Oh, just change the way you think, which sounds better in theory, but it's a lot harder in practice to go out. And again, you have to go through that failure. It's just a necessary part of the process.
Yeah. I knew this question was going to come up. What's your lay count, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm probably like, lay count's not something I pay too much attention to, but I'm probably in like the low to like mid 80s.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough.
Because I like went to that point. Like the reason I say I'm not too big on lay count is like, even during this time period, like I dated a girl for probably like 9 months in the time, and then I've also had rotate. Like I'm not just trying to nail as many girls as I can, right? Like I like seeing girls again. I like giving them as good of a possible experience as I can give them in all aspects, right? So because I want them to come back, especially if she's an attractive girl, So a lot of people focus on lay count, which I think is important, right? You need to be with a lot of different types of girls. But my goal is more to give her the best possible experience I can so that I can keep the quality of girl that I want coming back.
Yeah, I never really cared about lay count that much either. I stopped counting when I got to like 20 or 30. To me, it always seemed like a weird, irrelevant dick measuring contest. There's some guys who've been with 50, 60 girls who have way better game than guys who've been with hundreds of girls.
100%.
So I think, of course, to some extent, it matters. Like if I had to put my money on someone who's been with 100 girls or someone who's been on 5 girls in a pickup competition, obviously I'll pick the dude with 100 girls. But to me, it just seems like kind of like a irrelevant dick measuring contest. Let me address this question. Okay. I try not to offend my audience, but I literally think this dude might be retarded. I literally just said that I think looks are 50%. I feel like some people just like tune out the stuff they don't want to hear and just like absorb the stuff that they want to hear, and then they base their advice on that. Like, I don't know.
What does that question even mean? Why do you think looks don't matter when we've seen your performance on Amigo? How does that even? I don't see how it correlates.
Because the argument is that because I do these like, well, not often, but I do these like Omegle whatever live streams, not because I like them. I think it's actually super dumb, but because my audience likes to see it. God only knows why. I think Omegle is like 95% men. It's mostly like fucking 17 and 18-year-olds, sometimes 12-year-olds. So so basically what he's referencing is the fact that there was a bunch of girls who didn't match with me on Omegle. Who gives a fuck? I would never in a million years try to go on Omegle to actually pick up girls. But yeah, I do think looks obviously fucking matter.
I mean, they matter, absolutely. Like they matter like money matters. Like to me, looks matter. They're going to get you the attention of the girl. But again, I've seen many, overweight dudes, and you don't see the opposite, right? You don't see the stud, except for that one video I think you put up with the one Chad dude that was with the one really fat, ugly girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm saying like you don't really see but you'll see overweight dudes. You'll see really unattractive dudes with beautiful women based on maybe having an extreme level of competence in something, or having being really wealthy or having a lot of status or social proof. But you don't see the opposite. So looks matter, right, to a certain extent, but it's not something that you should be putting focus on because it's irrelevant in the results you can get.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these guys, especially the black pillars, they obsess about it way too much. And like there can be like if the obsession is you go into the gym every day and you like do maximum amounts of looks maxing, then yeah, that can be helpful. But it's almost never like that. It's never like these guys who are obsessed with looks maxing never have actually looks maxed. Now, I almost never see it. The only person I know who's done that is Men's Maxing. That dude, he actually has looks maxed. But and he doesn't really consider himself a black pillar, he told me. But for like the vast majority of these black pillar doomer dudes, they're typically either skinny, fat, they have like disheveled haircut, poor fashion. Like they're almost never looks maxed. So if you're just, unless you've actually looks maxed, then what the fuck are you even doing?
Well, and it's sad too, right? Because like you take these black pillars, and it's like if you just come game for a little while, you'll realize like these probably, like, you go back to the fixed mindset, probably don't think they can change their personality or don't think that they can change certain things about themselves. But I mean, if you just hang out with somebody who's good at game, I mean, you'll realize like it looks, again, they play a certain part. Do what you can with them, but I mean, it's kind of a waste of energy to think about how you look.
I guarantee you're not. Tate, can you come on the stream and turn on your camera? I would bet any amount of money this dude does not look max to his.
I mean, like, my thing is like, here's the problem too. Once I started getting laid a lot, even with the more attractive women, because I could run up my body count if I wanted. I'm pretty selective on the apps too, or even when I do cold approach. When I started getting good at game and I realizing that shit, looks don't really matter as much as I thought. Well, shit, I got a little bit lazy on my working out, on my dieting, on all these things, because I realized that, well, shit, I don't need this to get the quality of girl that I want.
Yeah. I actually, like, now I'm thinking this dude might actually be retarded, so I feel bad picking on a disabled person.
Okay. You don't care about looks.
Let's just.
I mean, it's a dating app, Larry.
If something is 50%, would you not want to improve on that? 50% is a pretty big percentage. So if I was a bodybuilder and it turned out that 50% of your lifting comes down to creatine, right? Which is not. I'm just using that as an analogy. Would you not want to make sure you take creatine every single fucking day? It's fucking 50% now. 50% is huge. Of course, you're going to max that out to your best of your ability. All right. Anyway, I'm done with this dude. Let's go back to the conversation I had.
It's all good, Larry.
Okay. I have a really bad social skills from depression. Not black, but it's okay. I have really bad social skills from depression, but I still get girls from time to time, but only thanks to looks, not black pill, but it is my experience. Well, yeah, I mean, I think the biggest issue that you have is that you have bad social skills to crippling depression. I think in order to really explore this, you would have to fix your social skills and at least somewhat improve your depression. And then you could evaluate how much of it is your looks and how much of it is everything else.
Yeah.
Creative makes my money. People don't have. All right, guys, let's get into some questions. So if you have any questions for me, Alden, just post them in there. We're probably gonna go for another like 15 minutes or so.
Oh shit.
Sorry, wait, how do I pronounce it?
Alden.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Also, do you mind if I show that photo you sent me? Because there's some
that's fine, man. Right, cool. You talking about the ugly one or the?
No. The receipt one.
Oh yeah.
Bam. Receipts. Quality
right there.
Wow, that chick is hot. How did you meet her?
Just fucking online, dude. You know what's funny? This is the funny shit about it. Her for some reason her phone randomly sets in my city when it resets, and it happened to set in my city, and I happened to match with her, and I got her to drive 4 hours to see me over a pure text game. That's the crazy thing about text game is like you can, and this is my opinion on text game. This is just my own theory on it. I think you can build yourself up, you know, because I've gotten girls to drive 2, 3, 4 hours to come see me like regularly because you can build yourself up in her mind. Women interpret language differently than men do. So, you know, you can almost put yourself on a pedestal in her eyes. And I mean, you know, when you're on a pedestal, think about how when women put you on, or you put women on a pedestal.
Yeah, I just did a video on Monday about getting a girl to drive over 2 hours to see you in under 20 messages. It is definitely doable.
It's very doable. Very doable.
How much would getting hair transplant fix if you're pretty bald? It definitely would help a lot. If I didn't have a girlfriend, I probably would have already gotten one. I am planning on getting one at some point in the near future. It's not on my priority list with all the other health issues I have, just because like I'm already having as much sex as I want. But yeah, if I was single, I probably would have already gotten one. But I think it helps, but it's not like a miracle.
Yeah, the biggest thing too, and like all that shit, man, is just own it, right? It's only a big deal if you make it a big deal.
Alex, I want to clarify a question from last stream. By one approach, I'm on a girl giving choosing single girl approach. Which would be harder to screw up? I think I answered that, right? I think a warm approach will be harder to screw up because the girls can give you more of the benefit of the doubt. Because I think it's gonna be harder to screw up a warm approach. I think so. Tinder imposes to put what you're looking for now, what you put between long-term partner, long-term open to short, short-term for new friends figuring out. I would probably put either figuring out and short-term open for long.
Yeah, that's what I think. I left mine blank, but that's what I would put too, for sure.
Yeah, short-term open for long and or figuring out. But I would go with short-term open for long. That's probably the best. Would it take you a while to pull up your Tinder? Is it like really far buried?
No, my Tinder's right here.
All right, cool. That'd be awesome. Yeah, we can do before and after.
Tinder.
I thought BMAC was coming out. No, BMAC's coming on Thursday, I believe. This is the old one or the recent one?
No, this is my new Tinder.
Oh, that's a cute dog. Whose dog is that?
I found him on the internet.
I love it. Okay, solid. Do you have the before?
Yeah, probably doing my picture somewhere.
All right, sick. I'll just do some Q&A while you pull it up. Alex, when are you going to reveal the results who won the competition? On Thursday. So sorry, I know I fucking hate when people do this to me when they like build up suspense, but I have to because otherwise it's going to ruin the video. So this is what I've said, and it was a close competition. It wasn't a blowout, regardless of what everyone thought. It was fairly close. Both of them had some really interesting interactions, including a screaming match between BMAC and a chick, and some bad ones and a lot in the middle. Both guys got multiple phone numbers, had multiple good interactions, had multiple bad interactions. So it was a close competition, but yeah, the results will be revealed this week, and I'm excited to reveal them because it was massive amounts of work. So I hope to get some return on that work because it was like 20 times more work than the regular video. Is Looks for Life still doing the pickup challenge? He is, yes. Girls will use any excuse to not swipe L on a dude. That is very true. Guys are looking for reasons to swipe right. Women are looking for reasons to swipe left. So don't give her any reasons.
1000%.
Do you believe there's potential for individuals to make positive change in their life circumstance through self-improvement and hard work? Absolutely. I am a case example of that. So is Alden. Fuck, I keep mispronouncing it. Alden. Or Alden. Alden.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%, man. Anybody, enough time and effort. But failure is necessary.
Yes, lots of failure. And it's okay. Failure is not a bad thing. I think people need to stop thinking that failure is like somehow like a bad thing. Like failure is only a big deal if you make it a big deal. But in order to be successful, like look at any successful entrepreneur, like any businessman. You read their autobiographies. What do they talk about? There's 5 or 10 businesses that failed beforehand. They failed over and over and over again before they succeeded. Yeah. Very rarely does someone succeed at something right away. It just typically doesn't work that way. Talk to any successful person, read any autobiography, you'll see they took multiple L's. What separated them from the people who are not successful is they had the perseverance and persistence to push through that and learn from their mistakes.
Well, and the funny thing is with the person who succeeds right away, even if they do succeed right away, as soon as you run into obstacles, you crumble because you're not prepared to deal with the pressure and the stress.
Playing with fire. Have you used attractiveness to test for an AI men's maxing pod suggested any other hacks you use? No, I actually have never done that, so I can't really comment on that too much. Online game is not a real game. JL has 1,600 lays, all from in real life game. Well, that is just fundamentally not true. Most of his lays are from online, so I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and even so, it's like a ways away.
Okay. Let's see what
else. I don't fucking thing. I got so many pictures in here.
Did he use the Hey Trouble opener or the romantic bottle of wine on my balcony one?
Oh yeah, I love the romantic balcony. You see my balcony back here?
That is romantic as fuck. Can you show your Tinder matches real quick too?
Yeah, I got you. I can't find that picture of the before. I'll send it. See if I can send it.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, if we get it, I'll just post it in the description or something.
There's one chick, Tinder match.
Just like go to the part where we can just like see all of There we go. And just scroll down.
Shit.
Drop the phone. Yeah, you're good. All
I
right.
mean, it's just blurry. I got a ton of matches. It's just blurry.
Oh shit. Okay. There we go. Okay.
I even lost my Tinder.
Why do you stick up for the insufferable black hair girl last night? She made no sense. I had no real study to decide. You mean my friend Kyla? Why would I stick up for my friend? I don't know, because I agree with her largely about what she was saying. Plus, I like her. Not in that way. I like her as a person.
This is a girl on my Bumble that's coming, like literally in like 5 or 10 minutes.
Nice, man. Did you bank or turn around their own? Okay, this is a dumb question. Okay, let's answer this. What's a good opener to use if you don't have a balcony and live in a tiny apartment?
Dude, you can any opener works, man. It's not even the opener. Like, obviously, you need to get a response, and certain openers. This is my opinion on it. Certain openers allow you to lead a conversation in a better direction that you want it to go into. But I mean, as long as you get a response, the opener's fine. The romantic balcony, man. A lot of people. I have a dog. I use Alex's dog as literally my fucking on my profile. I've never had a girl ask me about the dog. Or let me rephrase that. She asked me. It's never been a big deal. Same thing with the balcony.
Yeah. Also, the romantic balcony. That's not an opener. That's what you're doing to close. You're not actually messaging girls. Hey, you want to come to my romantic balcony, right? That's later on in the process when you're going.
It's a good prompt, though.
Yeah. Anyone who says that Kyla doesn't have stats to back up her claims is actually fucking retarded. There's quite a few of those people. Okay. Okay, you can own a bottle of wine in the studio. Okay, cranky gay uncle. You can own a bottle of wine. You can own a bottle of wine in the studio apartment. Very true. When I traveled, I don't always have a balcony, but I still do the same shit. What age range do you have for your Tinder? Someone's asking.
Mine's 18 to 29.
Oh,
yeah, I don't like the older girls like that personally.
Okay. You're missing out on the MILFs though.
Yeah, not my thing.
Okay. Some of like the fucking best lays I've had were the chick who's like late 30s, early 40s, like some of these MILFs. They have like insanely fake tits. They're like really, really feminine. They know how to fuck really well. Oh man. There's this one MILF I banged a few years ago. So I'm still only fucked her once. She's still like occasionally on my mind because she was just her tits were so big and she was so good at sucking dick. I was like, damn, I need to like fucking keep you or something.
Yeah, I prefer the. I've been like the oldest girl I've ever been with was like 35 or 33.
Do you notice better results on one app versus another?
They're sporadic to me, man. I almost go through phases where like I'll have a ton of Bumble matches, but it's also the way I swipe. I don't really like. I'll go through phases where I swipe more on Tinder, swipe more on Bumble, swipe more on Hinge. Like I got other shit to do too. I don't just like swipe all day.
Yeah, I've noticed this just from coaching. Like some apps work better for certain people, so that's why you got to get on all the apps and then go with the ones that work the best for you.
Yeah.
Do you change your game based on the girl's ethnicity?
I mean, it's kind of like a girl's archetype, right? If she's like a classy girl, I'm not just gonna like try to sext her off gate. But it's like, so I mean, yeah, I'll change but not necessarily her ethnicity, right? If it's like let's say a Latina girl that's with a very strong personality, right? I'm gonna maybe handle the shit test a little bit differently than I would a girl who's like softer with it. Like it's more so her response rather than her ethnicity.
Yeah, it's less her like ethnicity and more of like her culture. So if it's like the girl's Latin, but she grew up in Miami, I'm gonna treat her no different than any other Miami girl. But if she just like moved here a year ago from Colombia, both girls could be Colombian in terms of their genetics, but I'm gonna treat them differently because of their culture. So I think culture is more important to look at rather than like DNA or genetics.
Absolutely, it's a little micro calibrations for sure.
Yeah.
Have I ever banged a trans woman? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Is girls ghosting getting a lot more common? So yeah, we talked about it is more common. The solution is you just run higher volume. You make sure you confirm. So I typically,
to me too. They show up more in the summer for me than they do the winter.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I haven't observed that, but I think there are things you can do to mitigate that to a large extent. One, making sure you get the girl's phone number, so moving her off the app, that gives you an extra layer. Doing some voice memos or even a phone call makes it more solid. Setting up plans the right way. So if the girl's like, "Oh, I don't know, I might be a little bit busy," don't push for that day. Be like, "Okay, what night are you free?" Right? If the girl's like, "Oh, yeah, I just have a few things going on, but I think I could make it," I'm not going to take that date. I'm going to be like, "Let's do a night where you're actually free," right? So there are definitely and confirming, sending her a reminder the night before, confirming the day of, keeping her engaged. Those are all things you can do to really mitigate the chances. Yeah. Did you say you have to go, Alden, or you got time?
Yeah, I have a girl. Like I have a date literally in like probably 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll let you get going, man. Then I'm gonna bounce out in like 5 minutes myself. I'm just waiting for this girl to text me that she's on the way. Okay, I'm almost ready. I have to make a phone call real quick. I won't take long. I forgot. Okay, so she's definitely gonna be at least 30 minutes late, so I got time, boys. But yeah, dude, Alden, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Just shoot me a text with a reminder. I want to send you the 2.0 version of the product so you can let me know how you liked it. But yeah, do you have any closing thoughts or anything you want to mention?
No, man. The only thing I'll mention, and I would like to say, give shout out to PWF, man. Alex and Nitin, if you're on the fence, or you're not where you're in your dating life, and you can't invest $250 and $40 a month, then you don't fucking deserve it anyway. I mean, it's a steal for what you get.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I wanted to bring on like a case study so you guys can kind of see it, like kind of again. This is something I don't get this request often, but I had been consistently getting it for a while. So I want to bring someone on to share their story, hopefully give people some encouragement and hope. And
Oh
this
yeah,
isn't this isn't
final
a real.
shout out.
Okay.
Follow Instagram, Alden the Realtor.
Bro, yeah, check out his Instagram. But it does. Like, if you're like really tight on money, you don't need to like essentially buy a product to be successful. I have a lot of good free advice. You can just follow back. So it depends on
You could,
obviously you're going to be better off if you get the product. But if you can't afford it, that's okay. You can still start improving your dating life with all the free advice I give. I give more free advice than most people do in their paid products. In all honesty,
100%, man. Your YouTube, I've learned a lot from your YouTube too. Good
yeah.
stuff. All right, I gotta run. I
All right,
appreciate
baby.
it.
Have a good one, man. Thanks for coming on. All right, cool. I guess let's do a little Q&A before my date gets here. Alex, do you have a video on your background how you got into this? Yes, I do have that video. It's on the channel. Oh, someone's saying he looks like Frankie Muniz. Yeah, I kind of see that. I never realized that before. Can you do the date on here with no? There's no way. She doesn't even want to come inside. She wants to go for a walk. So I don't even know if I'm going to be able to pull her completely. She seems a little sketched out about coming over. So yeah, no, there's no way I'm going to be like, hey, you know how you said you want to go for a walk first? Well, let me just get you on a live stream in front of hundreds of people. I enjoyed seeing you roast wheat waffles today. Yeah. I mean, it was more of like, I would say criticism, but yeah. Alex, any tips on being fun with alcohol? I don't drink. I drink kava, so drink kava, and don't really worry about the fact that you're not drinking. Yeah, I don't drink at all nowadays. Alex, any takes on Penguin's critique of A.J. Hayden? Yeah, well, I did a whole video on that Black Silver, so check it out. It's a video I did like a week ago. But yeah, I have a whole video on that where I go into in detail. I think his critique is largely ridiculous for all the reasons I mentioned in that competition. Is BMAC a good wingman? I don't know because I wasn't actually doing pickup because I was filming, so I had to stay very focused. So I don't know. What is something that you differ from Coach Corey Wayne on? It's been a while since I looked into his shit. I have a whole video where I talk about that, so you can check that out where I get into specifics. But that was like a while ago that I put it out. But funny story, one of my roommate actually hooked up with Coach Corey Wayne's assistant. Right, she's pretty cute, kind of too tall for me, but she was definitely bangable. And I met her like right after they finished fucking, and I was like talking to her a little bit, and she's like, "Oh yeah, like I'm familiar with the pickup industry." So I was like, "Hey, can you help me set up Coach Corey Wayne for a debate?" She's like, "Yeah, absolutely. I really want to see it happen." And then like 2 days later, we don't hear from her. It's like, "Hey, what's going on?" She's like, "Yeah, he didn't respond to me. He's not feeling it." So it seems like he's also a little bit of a coward. Alex, do you have a music recommendation for a date? What do you usually play? I just go on YouTube, auto, whatever, auto generate music or auto playlist. I put on like something like Chrono Dancing. It's like kind of like light EDM or like Big City Life remix. Stuff like that I think is good music. I would play it now, but then I'm gonna get a copyright, so I don't want to do that. Alex, what is the derma rolling thing you mentioned? Yeah, just Google derma rolling for hair loss. It's kind of painful. You're injecting like very tiny. It's like acupuncture for your scalp, but it stimulates blood flow, collagen, and there's actually been legit like double-blind placebo-controlled studies that have been done on derma rolling. It's fascinating. You know what? Let me just pull it up actually, because I fucking this study was epic. Derma rolling Rogaine study. Okay. Okay. So let me share my screen. Derma rolling also works not just for hair loss, but any kind of hair loss. So your beard or whatever. A randomized evaluated blind study of microneedling. So microneedling is derma rolling. Okay. I want to get to the photos because the photos are fascinating. So this just talks about what they did. But let's get to the photos. So look at this. Microneedling group, pre-treatment baseline, post-week treatments. Look at this one, patient 2. This is insane. Usually it's not that good, but that's a massive fucking difference. This is just minoxidil. You can see that minoxidil didn't really move the needle that much. However, when they combined it with minoxidil, that's when they saw the real big increase in results. Wait, fuck, where are the photos? Oh, sorry. I think this is microneedling and minoxidil. It's just either microneedling or I think it's uh, microneedling and minoxidil. But look at this fucking difference. Compare that to just Rogaine alone. Like some of these guys, I feel like this guy got less hair now with but look at this fucking difference. I mean, this is drastic, and this is like a legit, like very scientific, done by the NIH study. Like this is like this is like top notch science. So yeah, this shit fucking works, man. All right, let me check where this girl is. Okay, I got time. Let's see. Playing with fire, some extreme response, derma roller, and or Rogan. Yeah, you can go more into the study, like where they actually break it down, but they found they had a very significant p-value, meaning like there's a drastic difference, and they found that yeah, like derma rolling with Rogaine like really moved the needle a lot. Yo, Alex, do you have the Terminator 2? I do. I gotta start using it more because I keep forgetting. Because if I the problem is that when I use it, I have to avoid the sauna for 24 hours because I have like fucking wounds in my head. So and I love doing the sauna before I go to bed. But yeah, I'm gonna fucking tomorrow. I gotta remind myself to do the Terminator. Here, I'm gonna even fucking write this down so I don't forget. So I keep putting it off. I really got to be more consistent with that. I'm pretty good with being consistent, like with work stuff and like working out, but for some reason, Terminator, I just put it off. Do you believe that technique, strategies, and pickup history can be manipulated or abusive? Uh, if I get really good, I could be in jail like Andrew Tate. So they could be manipulative and abusive. They don't need to be. I would argue that there's absolutely nothing I do or anyone that's affiliated with PWF does that's unethical or abusive or manipulative. So you can be dark triad, but you don't have to be. If I get really good, I could be in jail like Andrew Tate. No, Andrew Tate is not in jail for being a player. Andrew Tate is in jail for running a fucking webcam studio that was, I mean, I don't know if he was actually guilty of human trafficking, but he was literally using women's sexuality to make money. That is very different than just being good with women, right? So yeah, don't fucking get a webcam studio and you'll be good. I think a lot of people are confused with what Andrew Tate is in jail. Like, oh, Andrew Tate is in jail for like standing up to the Matrix. No, he's in jail because his past business, regardless of whether he's guilty or not, that's not really a safe business to get into. He has a date coming, so I don't think the open panel is happening. Yeah, I don't think it is either, but I'm going to keep an eye. I think she's going to be like probably half an hour late. I went to host an after party. We're discussing the Fermi paradox. You're the solution. I'm the solution. Okay. Yeah, sure. I mean, go to Slave's channel. Just fair warning, you might see some things that you're never gonna forget. But yeah, he has interesting content, I suppose. Oh, by the way, Mr. Slave, I heard you talking a lot of shit last night, so we gotta have a discussion, the two of us. Mr. Slave has this conspiracy theory that I hate him because he is the mirror version of me, and therefore he makes me really insecure, and that's why I try to take him down every chance I get, even though I've platformed Mr. Slave more than anyone else on this planet. And literally his whole like YouTube career is 99.9% because of me. But aside from that, I hate him and I'm trying to sabotage him. Yeah, interesting. I gotta be honest, like I fucking a pet peeve of mine is people who are ungrateful, like people who I do a lot for, and then they're bitching because I haven't done more. I just cannot stand like people who are ingrateful. Where do you get a fine canine like that? Rhaegar, he was a rescue. I got really lucky. Alex, let me take over the panel. You can come on. I'll drop the link. But I do have to. I'm not going to leave the stream running if I'm not here to supervise because that's too risky for me. But I will. Maybe if the day gets cut short, like if she doesn't look like her photos or something, then I'll just restart. But also, we're going to be live streaming tomorrow and the following day. We have really, really interesting content coming on. Where's Indian P? I don't know. I think he's either got a date or he's doing work. Not really sure. Mr. Slave should be changed to Mr. Simp. Alex, does Rhaegar shed a lot? Yes, I mean, he's a Siberian Husky, of course. You were rude to Hugh last night defending a feminist tatted up girl and made 0 sense. She's actually claiming buying has no pin on fidelity and bondability. That's ridiculous. No, I was not rude to Hugh. Me disagreeing with something doesn't mean me being rude to them, okay? I'm going to agree or disagree with the people who I agree and disagree with. I was agreeing. I don't think her argument, maybe I'm wrong, but my argument isn't that it has no impact. There's definitely a correlation there. I'm just not convinced that there's direct causation between a woman's body count and her infidelity, and I don't think it's the best metric to look for, with the exception of fringe outlying cases. Woman has a body count of 300. Yeah, probably not the best girl to get into a long-term relationship with. But if the girl difference between 2 and 5, 5 and 10, 10 and 15, I think is an insignificant difference. I think there's way better metrics you can look at, like personality types, values, ethics, relationship with dad, etc. I wouldn't try. He's a Coach Whitehall student. I think he has good intentions. I trust him, but not enough to. I don't trust anyone enough to let me run the panel, with the exception of the DNP, and even him. Maybe not so much. Flame Fire, are you doing Michael Sartini's mentoring program to being Playboy's 10? I don't know if he actually charges $10,000. I never looked into how much he charges, but he gives a lot of value for free. Is that a wolf dog? I call him a wolf all the time, but he's just full-on Siberian Husky. Aren't you, Rhaegar? You're a Siberian Husky. You're a Siberian Husky. Siberian Husky. A fat Husky. Rhaegar is like the best dog ever. I love when Rex these idiots try to bait her. Me too. Will you have more interactive panels? I do them all the time. Just last night I did a very interactive one. Maybe not the only metric, but when you wager high probability divorce with a promiscuous girl, well, there's definitely a correlation there. So if we're talking about like averages, your odds do increase. Although it's very interesting that when you go from 2 to 3 or 2 to 4, the divorce risk actually drops off. But again, is it a correlation or is it a causation? The author of the study, like people actually look at what the author says. He says that he doesn't know. He's not convinced. There's no evidence to show it's a causation, and it seems like he thinks it's more of a correlation thing. But yeah, I think it's something to keep in mind. But I just think there's more important metrics. Like that dude said, he would rather have a girl with zero body count who kicks her dog, she has nothing in common with, who has a bad relationship with her family, over a girl who's like perfect in every other way, but her body count is 5. That is literally insanity. Okay, let's get Hugh on. So, my favorite 12-year-old.
I just turned 13 actually today. It's my birthday. Anyways, no, last night I was playing devil's advocate, like on behalf of Foppish, but like Foppish. No. But I was also like semi-agreeing with like nuance though, because you guys were both saying like he was saying that body count as a number is representative of like yada yada yada, right? And then you gave him the analogy of, would he rather be with a girl who's been with 2 guys and then is a puppy kicker, or or somebody with 5 who's perfect, right? And that's what I agree with. It's all behavioral. It's all about personality. Like body count is representative of personality in most cases, because a lot of the times girls with like bad personalities or with like lack of self-awareness tend to like stack their body count because they think it's gonna help them, but then it doesn't, and that's what makes them undesirable to guys. And that's what he was talking about when he said damaged goods. I think that's what
I literally cannot. It's a pet peeve of mine when people play devil's advocate just for the sake of it. You do that,
but I'm not doing it for the sake of it, though. I actually believe that.
Okay, Hugh, you were also, me and Kyle were actually talking about this. You were like derailing hardcore last night, which is why I was getting a little ticked off. So the analogy I gave him is, if you had to choose between a girl who has 5 body count but she's a good partner, you guys have a lot in common, good relationship with her parents, versus a girl with 0 body count, she kicks her puppy, she fucking has a bad relationship with her parents, you guys have nothing in common. He said that he would prefer the girl with a 0 body. Well, he wants that girl with a 0 body count.
But I told you I disagreed with him on that.
Right, but so the whole argument wasn't about whether body count matters. It was about how much does it matter. And to him, it's like the end all be all. And what me and Kyler were saying, it's not the end all be all. There's better metrics you can take a look at.
Yeah, but I put nuance to it though. I wasn't saying like it either does or doesn't matter, because I mean it does ultimately. There's correlation between high body counts mostly and girls with parental issues, lack of self-awareness, yada yada yada.
But no one was disagreeing with that. Like, I don't disagree with that.
I think we got into the weeds a little bit.
You're like defending him by making an argument that actually defends me. It's just like, yeah, I know. It's like a really weird case of devil's advocate that I don't think like adds.
I was trying to get him to like agree.
I think you should argue for positions that you believe in instead of like positions that like.
I do believe in that though. I was just giving nuance to his points.
Let him give his own nuance. You don't have to defend him. Let him make his own points. Like, he's his own man.
Well, he already did, yeah. And
unless you go with the I know the voice changer was probably causing a little bit of a delay in the arguments he could make, but no, I mean, I'll have him on again. He was an interesting character. All right, let's bring on Luke Farrell and Mr. Slave.
Yo, I just wanted to ask you a quick question.
Yeah, sure. I think your mandible isn't that bad, but I think that if you just do a little bit more mandible exercises, you can be a true Chad Light. So yeah, man. Like, I know you've been texting about this all day, but I wouldn't really worry about it. It's exciting.
Cap for the chat, just saying it's cap. Anyways, I was gonna ask you. You said you don't want a girl with a high body count, yet you yourself have claimed to have one. How do you explain that double standard?
Because there's many double standards when it comes to dating. I don't want a girl who's highly novelty seeking like me, but I'm highly driven by novelty, but I don't want a girl who's highly novelty seeking. I tend to be slightly narcissistic, some narcissistic tendencies, but I don't want a girl who has narcissistic tendencies. I want a girl who's very empathetic. So yeah, I'm going to select for what I think makes the best partner. I realize the faults that I have. I don't consider having a high body count a fault, but yeah. So it's like, I have a business. I personally never want to work for anyone again, but I'm going to hire people. I'm going to look for people who are good at taking orders instead of people who want to be their own boss, right?
Right,
So,
but it's different because you're judging based on gender. I mean, as long as you agree it's like a hypocrisy and double standard, I guess that's fine.
it's a double standard. It's not hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is when you say one thing and do another. So if I was personally saying, yo, guys, keep your body count low, but I had a high body count, that would make you a hypocrite. This isn't hypocrisy. It's just a double standard.
Well, it's hypocritical because you look down on women for it, yet admire it in men.
I don't look down for women at it.
Well, you mentioned that you wouldn't want a girl with a high body count. You just said that.
I wouldn't want a girl who's 5'8", but I don't look down on girls who are taller.
That's way different. Like
there's certain traits that I select for that they're preferential to me, right? But I don't look down on them. I don't think they're looking down would be like if I thought they were lower caliber.
Well, what I mean is you wouldn't consider them for a long-term relationship. That's what I mean.
There's a lot of girls I would not consider for a long-term relationship.
Right, but we're talking about just this right here. Like how
right, but I wouldn't consider a girl who, for example, like works insane hours, who works like 60, 70 hours a week for a long-term relationship. But I don't look down on those girls. It's just not for me. It's the same thing here.
I think it's a little different. Like the fact that she's been like ran through so much makes you less attracted to her.
No, it's just simply I would totally fuck a girl who has a high body count. I have and also there's degrees of it. Like when I say high, I'm talking about hundreds. I'm not talking about like 20 or something like that. Right. But I feel like, a girl who's at a body count 200, the issue isn't her body count. The issue is that probably means that she's very highly novelty driven and that she seeks validation. And those are not qualities that make a good long-term partner. But if I could be assured that she doesn't have those things, then I would definitely consider her. It's just there's no way for her to guarantee that unless she goes to like a fucking psychologist and like gives me like a report. Even that one. But if I could be guaranteed that she doesn't have those two traits, then I would totally consider her. So it's not the high body count. It's the indicator of what that means about her personality traits.
Interesting. Yeah, I found it interesting the other day. You said you would potentially date a porn star. Like, imagine she comes back from work. You're like, "How's work, honey?"
Not an active porn star, an ex-porn star.
Oh, hey, honey, how was work today? Oh,
I'm talking about Lana Rhodes. Lana Rhodes is like an ex-porn star. So yeah, I didn't say I would. I would say I would consider. I mean, that would definitely be a point against her. But if everything else is on point, like Lana Rhodes, I don't know anything about her personally, but she's hot as fuck. She seems like pretty fucking seductive and shit, and she turns out to be like the coolest person ever. Yeah, I'm gonna be lying if I say I wouldn't consider dating her. Like, so, but it has to be an ex-porn star, not a current porn star.
Got it. Okay, that's all.
Wait, so okay, Alex. So about me and you, I mean, I'm very grateful to you in general and specifically, but what you said about me, what you insinuated about me, the pedophilia thing, that I'm just reacting to that. I'm reacting to specific things that you denigrate me, that you put me down. And I'm thankful to you. Of course, you're my friend. But there are specific
Your exact words were, Alex is threatened by me and he tries to take me down at every turn.
I mean that's not a contradiction. I'm thankful to you, but I have a psychoanalysis of your behavior.
You think that my goal is to take you down at every turn?
No, not to denigrate, to put me down. Like, I'm threatening your masculinity. This was from the beginning, right? All along, every time you are reacting when I do like when I succeed in a debate, so in your eyes, no, I lost.
Okay, Mr. Slave, let me explain this to you. I am not threatened by you one bit at all. I'm not threatened by anyone in this community, but if I was, it wouldn't be you. So it has nothing to do with threats. It just seems that like if I think something like negative about something you did or say, you just assume it's like personal. In reality, I'm just disagreeing with the words you say. There are things I agree with you on, right? But there's also a lot of shit I disagree with you on. And to give the context, the thing that, and I never called you a pedophile, but the position you were taking during that debate that I posted on my clips channel was you were defending the idea of pedophilia. Doesn't make you a pedophile, right? But you were defending that. And that is something that I don't like. I personally think that, that is messed up. So it's nothing personal. It's not because I'm threatened by you. It's not because I don't like you. It's not because like I want to take you down. It's simply because I'm disagreeing with the words that are coming out of your mouth.
If it was one-off incident, then I could understand it. But it seems to be the pattern. And you know what the second time we had the show a long time ago, so I told you that was my prognosis. I told you I feel you are a bully and you're bullying me. So basically it's the same. But what happened was my analysis took a big step forward when you had on the Sinatra. Who was the last guy you had on? Who was the big guy with the
Sartain.
Sartain?
No,
Sartain.
Sartain.
So you had on Sartain, and Sartain said during his interview. So he said, it's during the debate. He said that his growth for the clients, their growth is not even exponential; it's geometric. So I wrote in the comments, wait a minute, geometric and
Bro, I had
exponential.
nothing to do with that little argument you guys had. It was you
No.
arguing with Michael Sartain. Michael Sartain is not my employee. He's not my minion. He's his
No,
own man.
listen. I'm just telling you, this is when my prognosis took a big step forward. So I saw that he was super reactive. He said, "You fucking asshole! You're you don't know. You're so stupid."
What
And
does it
then
have to do with me?
listen. This is so deep. So this goes into your heart. This is how deep it is. So he was very reactive, and then he deleted his comment. And then I thought about it. So who reacts that way? By the way, someone is making noise in someone's background. Is like someone cooking, Alex?
Yeah, my roommate is doing shit. Keep going.
Throw something at him.
No, I'm
Anyway.
not gonna throw something at him.
Oh, okay. Anyway, wait.
I'm too threatened by his masculinity. If I throw something at him, he'll.
Oh, you know what I got? So my new owner, she told me to get a dog shock collar for barking, and it's activated remotely with an app, because theoretically she's supposed to move in. So
Lovely.
Anyway,
I wonder how it could be possible that I disagree with Mr. Slave. I mean, it just seems like we have so much in common. Okay, so you got into an argument with Michael Sartain. He got reactive. Okay, again, that has
listen.
absolutely
No. Listen. So deep. Anyway, so I came to the realization. I said, "Wait a minute. What is going on? This guy's supposed to be alpha, but he's reacting like a baby, a literal baby. What is going on?" And then it came to me. Wait a minute. Inside his own mind, he has no self-worth. The only way someone reacts that way is if he believes he's a loser inside. In his own eyes, he is a loser. And this is why he's driven to bang and bang and bang chicks. It's just for proof, for social proof. He needs to prove it to himself. He's not a loser. Look, he's trying to tell the world, look, I'm not a loser. And this is the same thing for John Anthony. John Anthony, we know was
talking about. Wait, hang on. First of all, I don't want to get into John on this panel.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
But again, you're talking about people that have nothing to do with me. And
listen.
I have to go in like 20 minutes. So you have to get to the point.
Okay. So we know the person we shall not mention. So we know he was right. He did very poorly before he started doing well, but. Right, in his own mind, he does very poorly. He's trying to prove something, and this is the same for you, because you say that in your adolescence and in your early adulthood, you had a hard time. So you're always trying to prove this to yourself. This is why, anyway. So I think you guys have very low self-esteem. This community.
I like how only Mr. Slave, like someone who like fucking just says that he got a fucking shock collar leash for himself, comes to the conclusion that everyone else has a low self-esteem. I mean, your mind is actually very fascinating how it works, and just these conclusions that you come to that are like literally the exact opposite of any other person. Okay, so there's a small element of truth to what you're saying. I do think that when people get ultra reactive, I do think that tendency exists in this community. However, it is not all or nothing. I truly believe that Michael Sartain has generally high self-esteem. Sometimes we get pissed off. Sometimes we get triggered. Yeah, I think that if you had like 100% high self-esteem, that probably wouldn't happen. But it's never 0 or 100. It's typically like 80, 90%. But overall, I think he has higher self-esteem than most people from what I've seen. But I don't know him that well. Again, that has nothing to do with me. As you know, I never get reactive. I never really fucking get butthurt at people. So yeah, like your conclusion that this all started with the fact that I disagree with you about a lot of shit. So you reverse engineered that. Like you're like, Could it be that Alex legitimately disagrees with the stuff that I say? No, there's got to be something else to it. So therefore, I think because this one dude that was on his channel got butthurt, and Alex, even though he never gets butthurt, is probably like that too. And so instead of him disagreeing with me based on the merit of the arguments, he must, doing this because of like ulterior motives, like the fact that he's threatened by me. I mean, like, dude, come on.
Wait, Alex, wouldn't you agree that? Wait, I mean, I don't know if you know the Michael Sartain guy personally, but wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't you agree that? I mean, somewhat of what Mr. Slave is saying has some element of truth to it, because the true character can tend to seep through the marketing and the entertainment value of Sartain and other people on these streams alike, like, because he's obviously got a business to promote and he's got to sell some things, he's got to market himself, so there could be an element of facade, as there is a lot of times in this manosphere.
Yeah, if like you can point to repeated pattern of him doing that over and over again, then I think we can, we have a lot more evidence to support that conclusion. But if it's just one incident of someone getting triggered once in the comments,
of course,
I don't think we can just be like, oh, this person must have low self-esteem. Sometimes people just get annoyed in the moment, and then they fucking don't feel like that an hour later. Not everyone has insane emotional mastery. So yeah, if there was like a pattern of this, then I think we could make that argument. But just one incident
Mr.
is
Slave,
not.
That's on you. You got to find more if you want to prove that point.
I mean, I was facing an actual paradox. I mean, the way Alex behaved towards me made no sense. But now
do you think it's not possible that I just disagree with a lot of things you say?
No, it's not possible, because if we go through each one, it's not just one off, it's many things.
Yeah, I disagree with a lot of the words that come out of your mouth. Most of them.
No, but it doesn't make any sense. We're
radically different people, my man. Radically different. So obviously we're going to disagree.
No, but when I go through each disagreement, I don't find a disagreement. It just makes no sense.
No, there's a massive disagreement. I have a massive disagreement with how you live your life. I would never advocate for clients to live their life that way. I think a lot of the stuff you do is simpy. I think you need massive amounts of deep inner work and less weird, shit that you do. And I think that your stance on pedophilia, even though you're not a pedophile, your arguments for it are highly questionable, if not morally repugnant. So yeah, we have a lot of disagreements. We're radically different people, and that's okay. We can be friends and disagree, but it's just like I'm talking to like a fucking religious Catholic priest. Obviously we're going to have a lot of disagreements. We're radically different people.
Okay, so what you were saying, that I'm ungrateful. So of course I'm grateful. Of course you're my friend. But sometimes friends, have disagreements, and sometimes these disagreements are very deep and they cut right through the heart, and it really hurts. Yeah, but of course I'm very thankful to you.
Wait. Yeah, you say that, but then whenever like you get like pissed off at me or God knows what, and then you like come up with this like narrative that like, oh, Alex is like, you literally said in that stream, not that it matters, not that I'm gonna hold a grudge about that, I don't really care, but like purely from an intellectual perspective, you're like literally saying, oh, Alex, he's just trying to take me down every turn, which is literally the opposite of reality, because I'm actually trying to help you to the best of my ability by like introducing you to other people, by getting you involved in this community, right? So it's like when you say like Alex trying to take me down every turn, you're literally saying the opposite of what is the reality. It makes me like less want to help you again, because I just look at that and I'm like, okay, this guy's like clearly very ungrateful. And then, if I keep helping him, at some point he's going to get butthurt at me again. And he's going to go off and say that, I'm doing this or this or that. So it's kind of like a red flag for me with human beings when people are ungrateful. It's like a pet peeve of mine, but yeah.
Mr. Slave, I will say something though. Your ability, like when you pop into these streams, your ability to like you kind of just like take over the stream, you kind of like dominate it sometimes with a lot of the points you make. So sometimes I wonder if you just come in to be as polarizing as possible, or if you genuinely take those.
Well, he does the same shit you do, which is play devil's advocate for the sake of it.
Okay, yeah, mine's a little bit more nuanced. Like I don't go
sure.
As
yours is more nuanced, but you both, I feel like, sometimes argue for positions you don't truly believe.
But that's why I like Mr. Slave.
Devil's advocate. I know, but it's like I don't know. Maybe it's just.
It's not so much that I don't believe in them.
ultra frustrating like behavior.
I know, but it's not so much that I don't believe in them. It's more so the fact that like I'm open to the idea of believing in them if when I'm arguing people can't refute what I'm saying if it's the contrarian point, if that makes sense.
I know, but if I'm having a debate with someone, you don't have to. I mean, look, if you believe in what they're saying, definitely jump in, but you don't have to like help them out on a position that you largely don't even agree with. You're way closer to me in terms of the debate we were having last night than you are to that voice changer dude. Way closer, right? But you're trying to like play devil's advocate and agree with him. I don't know. I mean, it's not like the end of the world, but that's personally like a pet peeve of mine.
Well, I think I was more in the middle in terms of like, because a lot of what he was saying made sense to me. It's just the way he was explaining it and the things he believed, it was not like particularly how I would have interpreted it.
Well, right, because you guys don't agree. But all right, let me get because I do have to dip in like 5-10 minutes. Let's let Uncomfortable Truth get a few words in.
Oh, yo, what's up? Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say something, but then you guys were having a pretty intense debate. Well, I wouldn't call it debate, but just I don't know,
A spirited discussion.
Yeah, yeah. So I was just gonna say that I very much disagreed with a lot of what that woman said last night. I thought that
Her name is Kyla. She has a name.
Well, I don't know her name, right? I mean, I didn't even catch the stream. I caught it afterwards. But
Yeah,
Kyla. Yeah, I mean, she kept citing statistics, for example, right? But I mean, statistics are made up all the time. I know this because I'm in a line of work that uses statistics heavily, right? So in the 1950s, that the FDA approved thalidomide, right, which is a drug that addressed nausea during pregnancy, right? And the FDA approved it. It went through 3 clinical trials, and it turned out to create birth defects, right? And so, I mean,
yes, I understand the argument you're making that sometimes studies can be done improperly and can be done even in a malicious way to prove a point. I fully agree with you on that. However, generally speaking, the vast majority of studies, especially when they come from like reliable institutions, right? That's why the source matters. When it comes from like the NIH or like some government institution or some like respectable institution, right? They're generally done pretty well. The scientific community is pretty strict about that kind of stuff. As a scientist, if you perform a study incorrectly on purpose, that could really get you ostracized from the community. So most studies, when they come from respectable sources, are done, pretty reliably. I don't think it's the end all be all. I think there's other things you should consider. But I think studies are the best thing we have to go on in terms of determining what is the truth and what is not truth in this world. And I think it doesn't really get better than peer-reviewed studies. So yeah, I don't know. We can't just dismiss.
Well, we also have to look at the topic of debate at hand as well, because if we're referring to like what we were debating last night about like body count being or not being representative of like or correlating with like bad behaviors or skyrocketing divorce rates, because a lot of those stats that she could have used also, like, we need to know if they're self-reported stats of like women who having high body counts, if they are going to be honest and report that they have high body counts in terms of when they got divorced. Or
sure, I agree with you. Self-reported studies have definitely a massive limit in their effectiveness. And yes, I agree with that sentiment that we should explore further, read past the front page, and like really see how the study was done. I personally try to do that all the time. But I think Uncomfortable Truth is starting on something different. He's just saying, well, there's an issue with studies in general, but you can't just dismiss studies because
I'm not dismissing studies at all. I'm just saying that you can't use that as an argument to validate everything that you're saying. And
well, I think using science and studies is actually the best way to support your argument.
No, it's a way to support your argument, but how scientific is a study on body counts, right? That's based on surveys. That's based on self-reported.
Exactly. Data. That was the point of not using those stats last night.
How exactly are they testing for that? Are they like measuring your hormone levels afterwards? Like what exactly?
But you can't. The problem is that you can't pick and choose with this kind of stuff, because a lot of basically the argument, like that every single red pill or black pill makes when it comes to the body count thing is like, hey, we have this study from the Institute of Family Studies that shows that the higher woman's body count is, the more likely she is to get a divorce, right? We have the study. Here's a nice graph, right? But then when I'm like quoting, what the author of the study said later on in the study, people are like, oh, well, this is not good data, because it's like, okay, either we throw the whole thing out and we say this whole study is bullshit, like all the studies with body count are bullshit, and we have no scientific data on this, or we say that, all studies have valid as long as they were done properly. But you can't cherry pick. You can't be like, hey, listen, the first part of the study is legit. The second part of the study is BS.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, right? I'm sure it's a study that says something, right? But there's always a study that says the contrary to that, right? I'm sure there's a study that says body count does matter. So you can literally pull statistics from anywhere to prove your point.
Sure, but you have to look at credibility of studies, and you have to look at amount of studies.
Yeah, you say that, but how is that scientific? So it's not even a scientific study; it's a sociological study.
One thing I always like to bring up when they talk about statistics, because this honestly has always pissed me off. But my stepfather died in a motorcycle accident, and he died because he slid off the road and he was hit across the chest with a makeshift mailbox. Somebody had made a mailbox out in the country out of a plow blade, right? And it literally crushed his chest. But he was not wearing a helmet. So he was actually put in the statistics of fatalities in a motorcycle accident due to not wearing a helmet. And it was even printed in the newspaper this way. Just like when people die in car accidents and they weren't wearing a seatbelt, even if they got impaled through the fucking throat by rebar, it's going to say that they died and they were not wearing a seatbelt, and it goes to those statistics. So I always argue statistics as well. Like I don't like the way that the studies are done.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just argue.
What do you think is like a better tool we can use in debates than studies? Like, what do you think is a better form of evidence?
I don't know. I just think certain types of studies, but statistics in general, I think are incredibly skewed and flawed.
Also, it's like those statistics. I mean, we could get into the pedantics of it and get into the weeds about like peer-reviewed journals and stuff. You have to look at who funds those researches and
absolutely.
Who is pushing those forward to begin with. Secondly, the reason why I hate when Kyla argues specific stats is because, like, A, what I just mentioned, and B, it's like it doesn't actually have much relevancy. It doesn't have that much relevancy to like you or me on this panel. Like you or me, our anecdotal experiences in life, interacting with girls with higher body counts or stuff, or like their behaviors and stuff, is going to be totally different than what stats might say. And then, you have to ask if those stats are self-reported, if girls are being honest, if men are being honest, blah, 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 blah. There's so many.
And Alex, my point here is that, of course, right, studies are a good tool, right? And they have good data points that you can use,
but they're not infallible.
Argument. But the thing is, you can't use that and say, oh, you cannot refute my argument because I have these statistics to back me up. Because anyone can find statistics to back any argument up.
Yes.
So that's
sure. Okay, so to Ashley's point,
when I saw that, she acted like she was infallible, and that's what.
So to Ashley's point, I agree. Studies are not infallible, right? Studies, can have faults. I do still very much believe that science, studies, all of that stuff, as long as they were conducted properly, are the best tool we have in terms of figuring out the truth about the world. I think anecdotal evidence, while it may feel very compelling, is often incredibly, incredibly flawed because we all have our own biases. We all have our own sample biases. Yeah. So studies are definitely leagues above that.
I don't think anyone's arguing that, right? I think the point of contention is that, anyone can find a study to support their argument, right? So you can't just say, cling on to one data point.
No, I agree with that.
I'm wrong. I'm right. Nobody else can deny what I'm saying because I have this one study. I mean, that makes no sense.
I agree with that. I think the way to argue against that would be to show a conflicting study or start going through the study and pointing out why it's flawed. Like, hey, this study is flawed for this and this and this reason, right?
I agree. I wasn't on the stream last night.
So right. I'm just saying we're showing conflicting evidence, right? So, yeah, I don't think she was saying, though, that she's infallible because she has a study. I think she was just saying, hey, I have some science behind me and you don't, and you just have anecdotal experience. But I think if that guy pulled out other studies that show his point, or he actually started pointing out specifically why her study was flawed, that would have gone a completely different direction.
I like Kyla a lot, but she has also argued with anecdotal evidence many times.
Sure, people do that, but I'm just saying,
Right,
if you,
right.
if
I'm
you
just
have
saying I think
studies,
that's everybody, you know.
right, including myself, I think if you have studies, that's generally better than not studies. So again, whenever I argue people who cite studies at me, I do one of two things. I either start going through their study and pointing out why the study was conducted improperly, or the other thing I do, typically more commonly, is I find different studies and make the argument for why my study is better than their study. Right? That's kind of how you combat that.
But like, it's like, are
As
you
far,
just
I mean,
arguing? Are you arguing for the sake of arguing because you believe that study, or are you arguing because that's an actual anecdotal experience that you've had? Like, this is basically what solipsism is. Like, you can look. I could look at stats all day long. I could look at stats and say like Andrew Tate would say, for example, right? He looks at stats and it says that men are worse drivers than women, but then in his personal experience, every woman that's driven him has gone into an accident or something. You can't argue with somebody's personal experience if that's their belief point, because they're never going to change it until something in their life happens.
Well, you can argue about why their
elicits
anecdotal
change.
experience is wrong. With the whole Andrew Tate thing, it was actually incredibly silly because him and Hassan were both correct. Uh, Women, on average, are safer drivers than men. However, in terms of skill, like making a turn, like at the very edge, like NASCAR, men on average are better than women, right? So these two things are not mutually exclusive. Women can be safer on average, and men can be more skilled on average, right? So they were both correct. It was just like they were talking past each other, you know.
to be
I
honest,
mean,
though, in the art of debate, though, I mean, that is kind of how you do have to go about it in the art of debate, actual debate, because then otherwise, what are we doing but sitting here saying, I agree, I disagree because of this? I mean, I get both sides of it, but yeah, statistics just piss me the fuck off half the time.
Yeah, I just think that people need to have an open mind, right? Like she was getting very like adamant about her viewpoint and just unwilling to listen to anyone else. And I just don't
Well,
think
she believes what she believes. I mean, I don't think was the other guy more open minded? Was he willing to change his opinion? Typically in debate, no one is willing to change their opinion, right? That's kind of how it works.
right. I mean, you can debate, but I mean, you don't want to get emotional and start to try to dominate the other person using.
Oh, highly disagree. It's okay to have emotions. It's completely
No,
fine.
you can have emotions, but I mean, she was like borderline screaming.
Emotions
that's her style.
emotions don't move like anybody towards an objective collective truth or agreement. Q2.
What?
What are you
That's the
talking
exact.
All right,
That's the
this is
exact
gonna be.
opposite of how it works. Like
I'm
usually,
gonna, I'm
emotions
gonna,
are the things that work better.
I'm
No.
gonna give a sexist take. This is gonna be like probably one of the very few sexist things I believe in.
Now let me say it, so it's not coming from you.
You have to keep in mind that she is a woman. I don't say that in any
Oh,
way.
I should have said it.
However, women tend to be more emotional than men. It is what it is. So
On average.
on average, yes, there are of course exceptions. So how many good female debaters do you know? Like there's most debaters are male, right? So
About as many funny comedian
when
females I know.
when I acknowledge the fact that like my girlfriend, who I think is very stable, is much more emotionally volatile than I am, right? But that's because she's a woman. Her hormones are different than mine, and like you accept that, right? If you want to be around women, like I know Ashley is going to spurg out, but if Hugh did the same thing that Ashley did, I might be like, man, you better than that, homie.
I appreciate
That is,
Alex.
yo, that is so sexist. That is crazy that you would think that. Like I understand that.
It's also a fact.
No. Okay, so you talk about averages, yes, but individual people, especially in smaller communities like online communities.
That's what I said. Averages. That was my whole argument. Not
Well,
everybody.
because you talk about like but I'm saying in a like the debate community, I would say women and men are equally as logical. I would say usually.
I'm not saying women are less logical. I'm saying women are more emotionally volatile on average.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I said the wrong thing then. I would say women and men, I would say in the debate community, probably can be just as volatile. Usually, I think men are more
Anything
volatile.
can happen, but if we do an average of all male debaters, all women debaters, women tend to be more volatile emotionally. Not all of them.
Q2, if you can give an example of like a woman debater in a certain debate that like absolutely crushed a dude in terms of like emotional, like refraining from getting emotional, like I mean, you should probably link that. I rarely
Okay.
even see females debate to begin with.
So Andrew Wilson's
than
wife
Kyler.
usually doesn't get emotional. I mean, she does get mad or angry or mean, but she doesn't necessarily get what you would say as just like
angry is emotional, my man.
Well, I know, but I'm saying like overall, I would. Okay, so you're saying you can't get angry in a debate and you lose because of that? I would say that's a
No,
bad metric.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that women tend to be more emotionally volatile. So I have slightly different standards when I talk to a woman than I do with a man. Again, it's just I know, for example, women tend to be physically weaker than men. So
Oh yeah, sure.
so if okay, one of my male friends is like, hey, can you carry this? I'm like, man, you got this. But it's a woman. I'm like, yeah, it's probably too heavy for her. I'll help her with that, right? It's the same thing. I'm not saying it as like, yo, like look at these bitches, they're so volatile. I'm saying it like it's just like a mental adjustment I make. So I expect a woman to be a little bit more emotionally volatile than a man. I mean, of course, there are some men who are extremely emotionally volatile, like Myron, but
Right.
talking averages, it just kind of is what it is.
I think that women tend to we are more empathetic, emotional creatures in general, right? Like in any social situation, like in general, we tend to want to talk about the feelings and the emotion and the thinking behind things, and not just the problem, the solution, and the action, right? We want to get the why behind it, as far as what motivated or what drove you to do that. So I think that if we understand, or I think most of the time what I've heard anyways talking on these panels is that most people tend to believe that. I believe that. Then it's fair to say that in a high, in a high energy situation like a debate, highly emotional situation where you're talking or arguing a point that you strongly believe in, I think that it's completely reasonable to say that a woman might convey more emotions in her responses. It doesn't mean that they're not logical or smart or well thought out. It doesn't mean that she isn't correct, but she's expressing that in a way that a man wouldn't typically.
Yeah, and it's okay. It's okay to get emotional during a debate. First of all, it creates really good content. So if anything, from like a podcast host perspective, I like that. But just aside from that, I think it's okay, like, to feel very strongly and passionate about something. It's not the best in terms of the optics of a debate, but I don't think that like
right. But getting passionate during a debate and like getting like emotional are quite different, in my opinion.
You get emotional all the time.
Emotional, no. You try to elicit that in debates, but if you go back and watch, you're the one that gets emotional, and I just
you do too. You get so butthurt all the time.
Yeah, Hugh, come on. All I have to do is say the word Coach Whitepill.
When you did, bro, shut the fuck up.
There we go.
Oh my god, you got me.
Female trait, literally.
No, Q2. It's like if you argue from emotion, dude, you're not arguing from a stance of objectivity or like openness. That's just simple human psychology 101.
I don't get what you mean by that. So if you're saying,
by what?
Okay, so let's say that I think that the war in Ukraine is terrible. If I get emotional about it, that doesn't mean the war in Ukraine is suddenly now good because I got emotional about it. I think we have to
what the fuck? That's not even a debate.
No, that's not.
That's just a that's not even comparable. We're arguing. We're arguing something on two different planes of the fucking galaxy.
But again, being emotional doesn't mean that you think it's right or wrong. Being emotional, or that you are right or wrong. Being emotional, your point and your stance is still the same. You're just more emotional about it. So that doesn't mean like you just automatically think, oh yeah, the war in Ukraine's great. I'm glad Russia's mogging them right now. Like that doesn't mean that. Just
I think if anything, Ukraine is mogging Russia right now.
Right now, but for what he said, that's all.
But what I'm getting at is so like there's a difference between being emotional about a logical argument and using an emotional argument. So for example, like if you were to say war in Ukraine is bad because of this, and then saying versus saying, okay, this feels bad because my friend was fighting for this, and like you tell a sad
That's
story.
Anecdotal versus emotional. That's two different things.
Okay, we can say that, but I'm saying like you trying to use an emotionally persuasive argument is kind of different from you being emotional using the logical argument.
Now you're talking about manipulation. That's also different than being emotional.
Okay, guys, I got a dip. My date is on the way over. If it doesn't go well, I will just restart this in like 40 minutes. But if you don't see me restart the stream, it means I'm getting late. Yeah.
Wait,
Anyway,
Alex, tell
Thanks for the
everybody to come
stream.
to my channel.
yes.
Mr. Slave
Well,
channel.
well, I thought I hated you, Mr. Slave. Why would I want to help you? Yeah.
No,
yeah,
you
go-
love me. You love me. Tell them that you love me.
I wouldn't go
The
that far.
gaslighter.
Tell them
Uh,
that you love me.
Yeah, I love my dog. I love my girlfriend. I don't.
All right, good
love you.
night.
But yeah, I think you're a good guy. All right, so go to Mr. Slave's channel. Yeah.
Michelle pinned it in the she
Yeah.
she pinned his thing in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool guys. Have a good night.
Good night.
Take it easy.
Bye. Thank you. See you.
Bye-bye.